The Modern Family. Let us bridge the gap between generations. Let us shape up the modern family. The Modern Family. Join the discussion and give us your feedback. Live with Hatem Al Abdessalam. The Modern Family.
I always thought about, and I just wanted to be there with you. The place that
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. In the name of Allah, most gracious, most merciful, all praise be to Allah, the Master of the Day of Judgment, and peace and blessings be upon our beloved Messenger Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Our dear listeners, I salute you all with the salutation of the people of paradise. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I'm your host Hatem Al Abdessalam. Thank you again for tuning in on 90.4 FM to your program, The Modern Family. Today, inshallah, we have a very interesting topic, and a topic which is dear to my heart. And today's topic is embedding the habit of reading in our children. And when I thought about this program today, I really wanted someone who was special to talk about this. I didn't want someone to come and preach about reading, but I wanted someone who really is in love with books. And with the grace of Almighty Allah, I was able to locate my honorable guest, who is Mr. Majid Al-Sulaimani. Assalamu alaikum, Mr. Majid.
Wa alaikum assalam.
How are you?
First, alhamdulillah.
I am very, very honored, first of all, for you being with us today here and accepting our invitation at a very short notice. And it's also the first time that we meet.
Thank you, Asif. Actually, for me, it is the third time I've been here.
MashaAllah.
And I've also been interviewed live by Tariq Barwani before.
Oh, MashaAllah,
so
MashaAllah.
It is a great honor to be in this great place once again.
Just to introduce Mr. Majid properly, as he has, mashallah, a very healthy CV. Mr. Majid, who was an ex-human resource specialist in the oil and gas industry for 25 years, and he's retired at the moment, and he had a management consultancy company for 2 years. At the moment, he is a management consultant, and he's also an author of 10 books. 2 books on Arab management, and one of the books have won the American Award Gold Seal for Literacy Excellence, and another 2 books on road safety, and the rest of the books are in for different topics. And he's also a columnist in Oman Observer for 13 years continuously, and his articles come on Sunday and Wednesday. And the best part of this is that Mr. Majid started the passion of writing at the age of 14. And he wrote one of his first articles which won the first national award. Again, Mr. Majid, it's an honor to have you with us, and I'm sure our listeners know you very well, and today, inshallah, you will enlighten us more on this topic.
Inshallah.
Inshallah. Now, before getting into today's topic, we'll take a short break, and then we'll resume with the program, inshallah.
The Modern Family.
Welcome back, Mr. Majid. Today, before we get into today's most important topic, I described you at the beginning that you're in love with books. I want you to tell me in your own words, what do books mean to you?
Okay. I started having a hobby and a passion for books since I was 14 years old. And like you said before, my first essay won a national prize in Tanzania in 1967, which was entitled My Most Vivid Dream. So since that time, I've been always keen and very much interested in writing. And it is one of my passion and hobby in writing. Wherever I've been working in colleges or universities, my articles have always appeared in the magazines of that place. So it is a very long relationship since I was 14 years old. That's almost 50 years ago.
So if we ask you, Mr. Majid, if we deprive you from books, what will happen to you?
I think I will here quote one of the famous presidents of America who said, I cannot live without books. And this was said by Thomas Jefferson. If you also go what Bill Gates said, he said, I spend a lot of time reading. So there's no better example than these two great guys. There is also an article by Benjamin Franklin, who's also USA president. This is what he said. If you would not be forgotten as soon as you have died, either write things worth reading or do things worth the writing. So I think that tells us a lot of things about the importance of writing.
Definitely. I want to go back again when you were 14, Mr. Majid. What triggered the interest in reading or writing? Was it the environment around you? Was it friends? Was it what exactly made you fall in love with writing and reading?
Okay, I was studying at that time what they call it Arkan schools in Tanzania. In this school, they always encourage people to read and write. So the more you read, the more you write. And it started with small incentive, small presents, like if you write a good essay and a good topic and the teachers like it, then they give a small reward, like a small compass box, or they give you a small book, or there's a placard, a token put in the school that, so it makes you encouraged to write more and more. It also instills in you the confidence, that you have teachers who are behind you, who support you to read. And Alhamdulillah, my father, my late father and my parents, they always used to encourage me to read more and more.
Yeah.
And whenever they see me reading books, even when I was young, my brothers and sisters used to play around games and all that. And I used to sit in the corner and read books. And my late father used to tell them, don't disturb your brother, he's reading him.
Yeah, mashallah. So was it a way to express yourself?
Yeah, it is more expression, and it also makes me an outlet. That if I have something I feel, even when I used to work, if I have a situation which I did not feel was pleasant or correct or not professional or ethical, I used to put my expressions in writing, and some people take it the wrong way that here is complaining again. It is not a question of complaint; it's a question that I feel I am more able to express myself in writing than in talking.
Okay, now we're getting into the point, today's topic. Okay, why is reading so important for the rest of us?
I think if you go back even to our religion, the first surah in our Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he was told Iqra, And why was it told Iqra? He was not himself a person of letters. He was not. He could not read, but he was repeated this message.
The command was to read.
To read. Yeah. So let's suppose, on his supposition, hypothetically, he did not want to read. Where would we be today? But because he read and he preached, he practiced by leading by examples, by showing people how things to be done, So the importance of reading is because it instills in you a sort of intelligence that you need to, how to live with others, how to live in the world, to get more knowledge, more experience. And I think that's the main reason, importance of books.
Now, in the Islamic tradition, there is many traditions that says that, like for example, the one famous one that says, seek knowledge even in China.
True.
Okay, while we know that at that time it was difficult to go to China, it may take months by camels to go to China, but still this was encouraged. And the other one is that you seek knowledge from cradle to grave.
The grave, true.
So it's never too late for people to learn, and it's always a priority.
Yeah.
And a believer who is knowledgeable is better than a believer who is ignorant.
I fully agree. Even if you go on, even on the situation of death, how many of us lie on the right side and facing Makkah? So even in death, the reading has taught you that this is how you're going to end in your grave, facing Makkah, and sleeping on your right hand side. So even if you want to go on an extreme level, even in death, you will still learn something to do.
Yes,
Yeah.
definitely. To us as believers and to the rest of the world as well, reading is knowledge, is food to the thought.
Food for thought.
Yeah. Now, if reading is so important to this extent, what happens if we lack reading, if we don't read at all?
I can bring here an example of importance of reading. In one of my stints as HR consultant, I was based in Salalah, and then in my house next door to me was one Arab from an Arab country. And one day he faced me in the corridor and he was asking me, "Are you Omani?" And I was a bit getting upset about this question because I thought that he would know the thing that I'm wearing a dish dash, you know. Then he said to me, I'm not trying to upset or offend you, but I was really interested because I see every day the newspaper guy is bringing 4 newspapers in your house, you know, and I find hardly even in the work environment when I go to work there that the people hardly read the newspaper, you know, they just go skim through it. Maybe they are interested in sports or some other bits of paper, some advertisement, land allocation or some job advertisement, but nobody sits and goes through the newspaper. And this is the reason why I ask. I find it a bit strange that you actually every day subscribe for 4 newspapers. I said, this is how I am. And he was really impressed, so very much impressed. So the element of reading, I think, is if we don't follow reading, how will we be able to live in this world?
Tell us what he told you about reading back in his country.
Yeah, he told me in our country, he's an Arab guy. He told me in our country, despite all the wars we have, all the situation that we are facing, if I have money, I will buy 2 pieces of bread, and 1 piece of bread price, I will buy a newspaper. So for him, he told me, for us, if I don't read a newspaper on that day, my life is not okay.
Yeah.
It is so important for me to read. Even if I have to go and borrow a newspaper from another office or somebody, I have to read. It is in me. I have to read.
Many would have an argument and say that what can books provide to us? What is book to us? I mean, what can we benefit from books?
There are a lot of things you can benefit from books. If you don't read books, you will not be knowledgeable about a lot of things. It is not only education, it is also the element of living with people, being a parent, being a father, dealing with people in the work. And the element that reading makes your brain also, what do you call it, you benefit a lot of things from it, because I believe that reading is something that you cannot go without. You know, if we look at the situation that today we are facing in the world, in politics and all that, even those people who are educated and qualified and they've read, they are facing these problems. But suppose they were not reading at all, how would the situation be?
Yes.
That is a drastic way of looking at things.
We still did not talk about the lack of knowledge. Now, if we don't read, what is the situation that we're going to be in? The chaos that we're going to be in?
I think we'll be just like animals in the jungle. You know, There's nothing else, because I have not seen an animal reading a book, so we will not be better than them. Reading books, it makes you understand a lot of things. I tell you honestly, sometimes when I sit and watch TV and I see a program on TV which is very good, and I don't stop there. I go and take some books which are relevant, download the books and read those books. And surprisingly, a lot in the internet nowadays, you can get a lot of books. You don't even have to spend money. Just go to the websites
and
download free. And especially our children, they like playing with iPads and gadgets. This is an ideal situation. If you encourage them to read, they can still be using the iPads and the iPhones and Android systems, and still read. You don't have to buy books, literally to go and buy books. But I think, frankly, if we encourage people to read, they become better citizens, they become better parents, they become also, better people dealing with people. And a lot of narrow-mindedness and looking at things at subjectiveness, all these things will disappear because you are knowledgeable, you are educated, and you have the experience, and also not only the experience, but also to impart it to your own family and all to your children.
Some would accuse the Arab world that a majority of Arabs don't read, but I would say that no, that is not true. A lot of them are literate and they read and they research and this, and the biggest chunk of them read, but they read what they like. So they read sports news, things to do with car, fashion, market value of land, for example. You know, the news that really interests them. But is it actual knowledge? Will it really benefit, that much? Do you call this reading? Like people who read magazines, for example, fashion magazines. Do you call that reading?
I think the problem we are facing in society nowadays is that we copy and emulate things. And if we see something in a magazine, a fashion model in the USA or UK has put on like a certain dress, and people start copying, But I think somebody who is at least reading a magazine for me is still better than somebody who does not read at all.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I believe that a lot of books that we have in the market, they are very educative books. They give you education, they give you knowledge, they give you skills, they give you expertise. So many things. Because even if I tell you honestly, if I compare the situation that we are facing today, if people read more, I think we would be better people.
Yes. Mr. Majid, comparing to the rest of the world, some statistics say that people in the West read at an average almost 80 books per year, and Arabs read at an average 2 to 3 books. This is alarming and very shocking, and is threatening, really. What do you think went wrong?
I think, if I can be a bit blunt, I think parentage is also an issue. People are so much occupied by worldly things, The parents, it is all about work. The ladies about social functions. And the children, I think they've been given such freedom, Today in many of our houses, if you go, you find there's a housemaid who's looking after the children.
Yeah.
Okay, and if I give you an example, my children when they were small, they used to believe there is a Father Christmas and there is a present, because the housemaid is sort of an influential person. If we look at our history, the Arab Islamic history, we reached until the borders of France. It is because people were intelligent. This is not only in that area, but if you look in medicines, a lot of discoveries today which are being revealed by science, it was already revealed in the Quran, in the Arab books. Like, for example, if you look at cesarean operation,
yes, people
were doing cesarean operations in those days. Okay, so many things, the medicines which we are talking about, the usefulness of, for example, like ginger, ginger, and what kind of treatments it gives you. This kind of knowledge people are just discovering today. This has been there all the time.
Yeah.
But why we did not discover it? Because we did not give it its due respect, its due attention. So I think it is very important for us to go back and read more.
So we were holding the torch of knowledge at those times, and we were leading in terms of knowledge and education and exploration and understanding. And then we lost it. So is it because of the wealth that we gained, the resources that we have now, and the materialistic life that we we live at the moment. We did not give the value, because the way I look at it is that we seek knowledge because we wanted to make life better.
True.
We wanted to help others to live a better, a comfortable life, and also it is a command. It's part of our faith to seek knowledge. Now that we let go of faith, and our life has become very, very over comfortable, then why do we have to seek knowledge?
I think this is talking generally, but there are examples of so-called advanced Islamic countries or Arab countries that have not lost touch of reading. But unfortunately, in my Arab management book, which I wrote and which got this Gold Seal Award, it is amazing that people from outside the country, people like America, they can value a book written by an Arab from the Gulf country, and while our own people, they may have read it in the newspaper because it has been put there. But if I give an example of one of my books, that they were ready even to invest money for circulating the book, the road safety book, they were ready to invest $10,000 if this book was published by them, to put live video televisions advertisement. If I put the balance 10,000, but I'm telling you honestly, if I go to the bank today and tell them I need $10,000 as a soft loan to invest in my book, they will tell me that is the door out.
Please,
please make
show us your
out.
shoulders.
Yeah.
Yes. It is very interesting. It shows that to what level we value knowledge, Mr. Majid. We were just discussing before the show about the SA contacts, that the prizes that they give to these competition, and we were talking to comparison to other competitions where the grand prize was almost 100,000 riyal, while the SA contacts was 300 riyals. So there is no incentive for you to dig deep into this in this matter of reading and educating yourself and becoming learned.
I think give them credit. They're starting to get into the boat of encouraging the people to read. And a lot of the English newspapers, even the Arabic newspapers, they're encouraging this sort of essay competition. Frankly, if you look about a few years back, this was not even there. This encouragement for people to write. So we are slowly getting into the boat about the reading, and people are still paying too much attention on. Which is not wrong. I'm not saying it is wrong. The drawings, arts, books of pictures, cookbooks, books about birds in Oman, and especially if the book has been written by a foreign person, it is very expensive. People will buy that book. But if your book is written about issues about the Arab management, written by a local, these are issues we need to get aboard, get out of, because Oman today, Alhamdulillah, Rabbil Alameen, His Majesty is there, and we are getting a lot of. Today, Oman can hold your head high, which 1970 nobody could hold his head high. So we are moving in the right direction, but I think there are some things people need to also put on board. And one, like you say about reading, I think reading is very important, and. Just to give you a small example, when people ask me, you're going to Oman Radio today to talk about what subject you're going to talk, and I said I'm going to talk about importance of reading and how to encourage the youth to read. What? He said, what? He said, I had to repeat 2 times. So you can see, if people there, even the topic of but reading, people don't give attention to it.
Yes, you're absolutely right.
Yeah, it's sad, actually.
I met a very famous Islamic scholar who is American as well, Sheikh Hamza Yusuf. When he visited Oman, he really, told us something very important. He said, I have a library at home, and I have almost 18,000 novels in that library.
Mashallah.
And my wish, I pray to Almighty Allah that before I die, I complete reading them.
MashaAllah.
Look at the vision that he has. Look at the.
And you said he's blind guy.
No, the blind
These are
guy. I'll
another-
give you. I'll
yeah.
give you the story of the blind guy later on. But
okay.
this Sheikh Hamza Yusuf, he is a revert to Islam, and he's very, very fluent in Arabic.
mashallah.
And he was talking about these novels are all in Arabic, and his vision is to read them before he died. I mean, what more important can be than this?
Allah
Why
give him
don't
his
we
good.
have such visions? You know, why? How many books can we read per year? How many? I was talking also to a Malaysian friend who was conducting a training about parenting here in Oman, and he was giving me the story of his son. He had an 11-year-old son who had a problem of it's sort of a phobia of crowds. So he could not go to school. He could not go outside the house. So they had to make him stay at home for 2 years. So he says, my son, in that 2 years, he read 480 books.
MashaAllah.
And then after 2 years, when he went to school, they had to elevate him
To a high level.
to a higher level because his knowledge
Yeah, it's already
that he
there.
gained
Yeah,
is far more advanced
Yeah.
than the knowledge the students
yeah,
have.
True.
And I just, I'm just amazed by how people raise their children to become, really in love with literature, with books, with knowledge. How can you encourage a child, to spend all this time reading all these books? What incentive have you given the child? What preaching have you given the child? What example have you given the child?
Yeah.
I think we'll go to all these details more and
The break, yeah.
share even more stories.
Yeah. I think I just want to say one thing. As a parent, if you lead by example.
Yeah.
For example, like in my house, I established a book library, and I put all my books on show. And surprisingly, my children, even family members, they come and start reading the books. So if you start small, don't have to start big. Start small, things can start to be better. This is my belief.
Mr. Majid, we'll get back to you inshallah after the break, but before we go for break, I'll just remind our listeners that they can always join us in discussion. They can call us on 24602058. That's 24602058.
The Modern Family. The Modern Family. The Modern Family. The Modern Family.
Welcome back, Mr. Majid.
Thank you.
We are continuing with our topic today, and would like to remind our listeners that they can always call us on 24602058, and would love to hear some voices, inshallah. Now, parenting. Parenting is a responsibility, Sheikh Majid.
No.
What is parenting? How is it important?
For me, I think the leading by example. If you go for a situation like that I faced when I was a young boy, that my parents were supporting me in reading.
Yes.
And I always try to see, if I see my children, you can start like when the children are starting at the age of 10, 12. That's the age to start. Maybe we have lost opportunity with our children, but maybe we have still opportunity with our grandchildren.
Yes.
If if your grandchild reads a book, and she or he is interested in the book, so you go and buy him another book, so you keep her or him interested in reading.
Yes.
And if you want to go, you can kill two birds with a stone. For example, if you can also go on e-books, put the e-children books for her in a laptop or in a
iPad
or something.
Make a special folder.
Or even some families, they even have iPad for the child. When he or she is not doing homework. So for her to relax, instead of watching games, violent games, which you gain nothing from. If they see it in the books, they will read. So I believe that parents have got a big responsibility. A lot of us are spending so much attention, so much focus on getting money. What is the point of getting so much money if your family is disintegrating?
Yes.
in the family, you get jobs going up and up. You become from manager to general manager. You get your salary moves from 1,000 to 4,000, but your house is in tatters. There's no point. You as a father and as a mother, my advice, and I'm not saying I'm perfect, but I try my level best. That lead by example. There's no life without problems. We have all life problems. But what I believe that always that family is the most important thing. This is what Lady Diana Spencer said. Family is the most important thing. We need to put more emphasis, more impetus, more, importance on family. We have to go back. We have to go back the old ways. Put family as the most important thing. Get money. The mother is in one room watching soap operas. The father is in another room watching footballs. And the children, nobody knows where the children are. This is where the children. Maybe some of the children are in their room watching. You don't know what they're watching. The room is locked.
Yes.
So let's go back to the old traditional way of how life. I'm not trying to preach here, but I'm trying to say that we need to give more importance to the family. And you are not going to lose in any way, because if we go back to the traditional ways of raising our family, our children, and this is not only, when I wrote one of these books, and the lady author and the publisher in the USA, she had an issue with her mother. And she took my book, and she flew all the way to St. Orleans. She tells me it's about 5 hours flight to that place. And she rang the bell, and her mother came out from the house. So she said, "Mother, before you say anything, please read this article." Okay? And this article I wrote when my late mother died, about the importance of mother to children, family, and all this.
Yes.
And she read the book. And when she was, in the article, and she said, "Do you know who wrote this article?" She said, "It must be one of the countries in Europe or America, because the English shows this guy is not, must be from this place." He said, Mother, if I tell you that this book was written by an Arab in the Gulf countries, what are you going to be? What are you going to say? He said, "It is not possible. An Arab writing such high level for English, it is not possible." He said, "Mother, this is the guy and this is his photo." And then she told me, "Thank you very much for bringing my mother back to me," because she and her mother were not talking for more than 5 years.
Subhanallah.
Yeah, for 5 years. And she said to me, "Majid, I thank you because I normally I publish the books. I never read books, but I saw your book and I don't know what made me read it. And when I saw the opening chapter about your mother, you wrote about your mother, in memoriam about your mother, and I immediately drew attention. I made a comparison to my own case, saying that. So
family ties is very, very important.
I think this is. We need to go back. We don't need to invent the wheel, but we need to keep the focus on family.
Mr. Majid, I think people tend to forget that the most important investment that we make in this life is in our children. And when we say this, people, mistakenly or wrongly understand it. They think that providing your children with the best clothes, providing them with the best homes, providing them with the best food, with the best school, that is the investment that you're making. But actually we're talking about knowledge and values.
True.
And this knowledge, to us as believers, the first knowledge is the Quran and the Sunnah of the Prophet, peace be upon him, and then the worldly knowledge. Now, how much time are we spending with our children to transfer this knowledge to them? How much quality time do we have with our children? We hardly sit 5 minutes or 10 minutes with our children having really quality, constructive conversations with our children, talking to them about God, talking to them about the universe,
about life,
about relationships,
dealing with people.
These are all knowledge. Some parents have a misconceptions that I encourage my children to read. I tell them to read the school books. And when you tell them to read the school books, it's just for them to pass the exam. This is another issue that we're facing in schools.
Very true.
And in the mentality that we have, is that when we go to school, we are not going, to gain knowledge. We're going so that we can pass exams. We just memorize the book from cover to cover without having an understanding. That's why when we graduate from schools and we go to university or to the workplace, we cannot reflect on what we have learnt, and we don't see the value. You hear most of the people saying that, we've studied a lot of things in school and we don't see any benefit out of them. Yeah, they are not useful to the workplace. So why did we learn?
If I go on as a management consultant, I will tell you honestly, we sometimes blame the expatriates that they are not keen to take Omanis for jobs. But if somebody has to be spoon-fed every time, for example, you are a PRO, you have an issue of dealing with an expatriate case, and you got a negative answer, for example, and you don't go back to the boss and say they have said no, finish. You use your
intellect.
Use also your. Be pragmatic, try to find a solution to the issue.
Go an extra mile.
Go to the next level. Say, okay, you told me no. Who can I go and see next?
Or what should I do next?
What should I do to get this? Yeah. So that element of thinking, that you have to be spoon-fed every time. Do things. I'm talking general, but there are very good examples of very good young Omanis who are very good examples. They have risen up from lower levels to very high levels, and
with determination, high level and knowledge,
and thinking. Think and act. Because if every time you have to ask your boss to tell you what to do, or ask him, he himself has got a lot of things on his mind. So it is important. You should always be dynamic. You should also be self-propelling. You need also to be on the job. And a lot of things, So I agree with you that element of thinking we need to change, because we have to think of our future. Today, alhamdulillah, we have oil and gas. Another 40, 30 years, I don't know what's going to happen. So education and experiences, these are things that we need to value and always to keep abreast,
Yes, Mr. Majid, is there a knowledge that can harm you? Sometimes we tend to buy books for our children, but actually we don't go through these books and we don't know whether these books will benefit our children or not, or they are not useful knowledge that our children cannot reflect. I give an example. If you give a child a book that is scientific, that shows, let's say, how to grow a flower, for example, when you give him a book that is talking about Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. So which one is important? Sometimes we provide them with information, but actually that information is not really important.
Yeah, I think the element of striking a balance between the two is important, because if you allow your children to read books which are extreme, books that preach less tolerance or patience, or one way thinking of dealing with other people in life,
Yes.
Or books that preach violence, or games that teach violence, Because a lot of society is getting lost nowadays because of the children, the youngsters, they get involved in this kind of environment. People play with the games, killing people.
Like social media as well.
Playing with the buttons, killing people, destroying houses, destroying buildings, destroying planes, destroying things, And this mentality is what do you get from this? It is you are building children who believe violence is a way
entertainment.
A way of life. So it is. My bottom line, I think, is you need to strike a balance. There is no harm for them to read Cinderella and all these books for entertainment, but at the same time encourage them to read books that make them think. I believe we have an issue nowadays is people don't want to read books that make people think. People want to read books that are easy, novels,
entertaining
books, books, even books talking about
love stories,
a role model, the role model she or he likes, For example, Jane Fonda, she likes Jane Fonda, so if there's a book written about Jane Fonda, she's going to spend maybe 1 day or 2 days reading that book. But if there's a book where it talks to you about issues like, I don't know how to describe it, makes you think.
Give us some examples.
I will give an example, like in issues that I put in my 2 books, the Arab management books, issues which are live. These are things which have really happened in my working environment. And if you have the time, you can go to my website and read it. How situations could have been avoided by a simple step of involvement or a simple step of more patience. A lot of issues, and I believe always that if people are made to think, people have honest responsibility that you are responsible for your own actions, or even not action. For example, if you are required to act in a certain situation, but because you feel, why should I get involved? Why rock the boat? That kind of environment, that kind of thinking, it is destructive. It is very destructive.
Mr. Majid, reading needs patience, and most of the people, or some of the people, don't have the time, or they claim not having the time. The most busiest minds in the world have the time to read. So what can we say to the people who claim that they don't have enough time to read?
They don't have time to read, but they have more than 5 hours or 6 hours watching the programs in TV.
Yes.
Yeah. So if you take 50% of the time of watching the films, you like films? Read about the film in a book. You actually
films are made from books.
Yeah, books.
And
book. Not only that, some of the films are cut pieces. They have edited the real story. Material from the story. So, for example, you like a certain film. Why don't you read the book before you see the film?
Yes, make it more interesting.
It will also make you understand that this film. There are a lot of cuts in this film. There are a lot of things which have been added or deleted, or so many things.
Because you cannot translate 500 pages into a 1 hour movie.
Of course,
I believe. Yeah. I think we should look at both sides now, Mr. Majid. Some people claim that we don't want to be obsessed with reading, like for example the Asian countries, that people lose their social skills. Because they are really focused on reading. They read in the bus, they read in the train, they read at school, at work, in the toilet, while they're eating. So they say that we don't want to get into that culture. And this becomes an excuse for them not to read.
Yeah. No, it is an excuse. I believe you can always strike a balance, from not reading at all and to that extreme. If you strike a balance between the two,
yes,
that's the best course of action.
I wanted to give an example, a very, very useful example of one of the main scholars in Oman, who is in Sinau, Sheikh Hamoud. He's a blind man, and he has a school in Sinau. He raised many generations of scholars and mashayikh, and I really had curiosity to go and find out how this man lives. And what is the method that he's using to teach his students?
People,
So when I went there, I noticed that he always had a companion who is almost like from the age of 14 or even less to the age of 15, for example. And this companion would change every day. They would rotate, and this companion's job is to hold a thick book and read every single moment with the sheikh. So the sheikh, for example, if he has visitors, he will talk for a few minutes,
and then go and read.
and then he will ask the boy,
But,
continue reading, so that he benefits and everybody else benefits.
Yeah.
To the extent that while we were having dinner, he was asking one of them to read. And he used to ask the students questions. What did you understand from this? So to them, from my observation, I understood that to them, time is very, very important.
True,
It's
true.
critical.
Yeah.
Now, how can we as families, as parents, embed this concept into our children? That, time is money, is value. And how we spend our time, we're going to be accounted for this time.
The issue here, I think, is again, like I said before, is parenting. If you lead by example, if like this sheikh you caught, mashallah, his children, they will follow up the same steps. So, and despite him being blind, so I believe always that we have always to show by example. Make your children be aware of importance of reading, and what loss or damage you will have in life if you don't read,
Yes.
or you don't read, or even write. For example, if say a child likes to write, for example, and express his feelings, you'll be surprised the feelings that come out from children when they write articles.
Yes.
Some of the things which are not, he or she will not be able to tell you face to face. But if given the chance of a pen and a paper, he or she will write things that you as a father will be shocked and said, I did not know my son was feeling these kind of things. And mashallah, sometimes when I read some of the things my children write, and I look and I said, don't tell me this is what he or she thinks, because sometimes you don't even think that this is what the child is thinking,
Yeah.
So children, they have a lot of hidden fears, hidden fears. And when there's an outlet of writing, they can write, they can express themselves, and you are able to understand what they think and what they feel and what they want you as a parent to do, So I think we have to start with maybe we lost our children, but maybe with our grandchildren. We have to start somewhere, somewhere we have to start. And we can see even in our own countries, look at the expatriates in our children. I mean, if you go to an expatriate house, I have been to a friend, an Asian family house, the children, the TV is off. The children are studying. There is homework they are doing, sitting on the table. And the father and the mother, they are sitting on the side of the dining room, and they are not watching TV. They are supporting. I mean, it's like a moral support or not, to see the children are doing their homework and doing it together with their family inside.
And the parents are reading books.
Parents are reading books or reading newspaper, whatever. But how many of us, our manis, are doing this kind of things?
We don't.
I think I would say very few of us are doing. The most likely, the children, she will do the homework that she has to be delivered the next day, and maybe also after a lot of push,
And we will dictate to our children so that they do their homework while we are watching TV. Or we are busy with our phones.
Yeah, and even for example, you don't know about mess. If your child comes to you and says to you, Baba, I've got this mess problem to deal in school, and you don't know anything about mess. But that element that the child feels that you as a father knows mess,
Yeah.
That's a confidence booster for the child, that he feels that I can go to my father. My father is knowledgeable. He knows a lot of things, when actually some of the things we don't know. For example, if my daughter comes to me and asks my question in algebra, I don't know anything about algebra. I did it when I was 15 years ago, so I don't know anything. But I would say, why don't you Google search it? Search in Google, So that is also going in the internet, and starting to Google that one and finding out the answer to a question. That also is reading. I mean, I would look at it as reading also. So I believe that we need to do more and more.
Do you think there is an opportunity or a chance for our nation to hold the torch again?
We can do it if we are determined to succeed. This is my theme, my focus. And I also believe that people who are decision makers should always encourage people to read and write and give support. It is not only money, making money business that is important. Because sometimes, even if the business in books is not profitable, look at the bigger picture. Don't just look at the incomes that you get. That how much profit I'll get if I support this guy to do his book. It is not a question of money only. It is a question of looking at the bigger picture of things.
I once read a proverb that says that people can deprive you from anything in this world except two things: the knowledge that you have and faith.
True.
So this is something that you have inside you and nobody can take it away, and that is the only asset that you have, that you really own, because you're going to leave everything else. But with that knowledge, either you accelerate in the sight of Almighty Allah, or you will deteriorate.
I've forgotten who is this person I read. He was a prisoner, and he wrote a lot of books. And he said, you can imprison my body, you can tie my hands, you can do whatever, but no, you cannot enter my brain.
Yes.
Okay, and so I agree with you fully that we need to give due importance in reading and writing.
Mr. Majid Sulaimani, the talking to you is enlightenment, and I think that one session is not enough. We can just carry on and on. But unfortunately, we need to wrap up today's session, and there are a few tips for the parents that they can follow if they want to embed the habit of reading in their children. We spoke about buying them educative good books to read. We can lead by example. We can limit them from watching TV. We can provide them with incentives for reading. We can create a home library. It doesn't have to be
few books.
Few books, a small library. We can take them to visits to the library, local library or exhibition. Join book clubs.
Yes.
Talk to them about the value of books. Dedicate time for them, which is quality time for them. Did I forget anything?
I also believe. Like we have this annual book exhibition. If you take your children there for a book exhibition, and buy some books for them, even if you think that is a wastage of time that or resources that they're not going to read the book, you'll be surprised one day he or she will pick the book and read it.
Yeah, I remember my Malaysian friend telling me that he had 5 kids, and whenever there is a book fair, or if it's every month they visit to the library to buy books, and he allocates a specific budget for each child.
Yeah.
And for example, if a child wants a book that is beyond his budget, he asks that child to share this book with his brother, so they share the budget of that book, and he rewards them every time they finish reading books. And I think we should follow the same footsteps. Before we end today's show, I would like to thank you, Mr. Majid Sulaimani, for being with us and sharing your knowledge. I think it was an amazing experience, and I hope our listeners have enjoyed today's session. Inshallah, we'll have more sessions together, Mr. Majid, in the near future.
It is a pleasure and an honor.
Jazakallah khair. Would like to just to tell our listeners that today is the last show, as the Modern Family is going to stop during the Muscat Festival for a month, and inshallah we'll resume broadcasting the program after Muscat Festival, inshallah. So see you inshallah in a month's time. Take care. I'm your host Hatim Al-Absalam. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
knowing that this is our reward.